Here I'll state the best small forwards in NBA history. A small forward is basically a power forward, but, well, smaller. They are known for being quick and running all over the court. This position has produced superstars such as LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and so many more. So here are the 25 best small forwards of all time. At number 25 is Glenn Rice. Rice is followed by Marquez Johnson of the Bucks, Jamal Wilkes, who won 4 titles, and Paul George, a current player in the NBA. Sean Marion, aka The Matrix, was consistent throughout his career, and Grant Hill was a star in the 2000s until injuries ruined his career. Then Billy Cunningham became an NBA champion in the 70s. For being a small forward, Cunningham was surprisingly good at crashing the glass and attacking the rim. But Cunningham still doesn't compare to Bernard King, who was one of the best scorers in the 80s. Unfortunately, injuries and postseason failure held King to 0 titles. However, his 1984 season will never be forgotten, where he averaged 33 points per game and dropped 60 in one of them.
Sparrow to Bernard, they're looking for him. Cross court to Bernard, 46. Had a lot of personal problems, got themselves straightened out and playing great basketball. 60 points for Bernard King. In
the 90s, the Golden State Warriors were known as Run TMC. TMC standed for Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin, the high-scoring and fast-paced trio who was a threat in the West. So Chris Mullin is our main focus on this team. Mullin scored over 18 points per game over his whole career, while also shooting 50%. And someone pretty similar to Chris Mullin is Carmelo Anthony at number 16. Playing for the Knicks, Anthony would consistently score with jab steps, fadeaways, and many other sweet moves. While putting Carmelo this low on the list may be controversial since he ranks 9th all-time in scoring, the fact that Anthony has never won a title, or even made one, puts him at 16. Adrian Dantley was basically a one-man team on the Jazz who put up great numbers on offense. Paul Arizin won a title with the Philadelphia Warriors. Alex English marked himself as probably the greatest Denver Nugget in franchise history, and James Worthy played alongside Magic Johnson in the Lakers. Worthy would play a major role in LA's 3-title dynasty in the 80s. But the player that couldn't quite crack the top 10 is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard hasn't been in the league for that long, but he nevertheless has compiled a resume that many players dream of. He began his career on the bench, but Leonard soon got the starting role. Then as a role player, people soon found out that Leonard was a superstar. He didn't only score 20 points per game, but Kawhi led not 1, but 2 teams to a finals victory. Both of those times, he won finals MVP.
Defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto has won! Kawhi Leonard! With the game
winner! We're now in the top 10, and Dominique Wilkins will start us off. Although Wilkins was a very talented player on the Hawks, he is more known for his ferocious dunks.
13 on the shot clock. Down low for Dominique. Baseline drive. Dominique. Oh my goodness! Did you see that jam? I don't know how he did that. Dominique. Oh my goodness!
That was one of the most fantastic dunks.
Let's head to number 9, where the Hall of Fame Celtic Paul Pierce is up next. Paul Pierce was never an MVP type of player, but he was still very clutch in his prime. He consistently scored about 20 points per game in 19 seasons, where he finally won a ring with Boston.
Pierce for 3. It's good. Paul Pierce from way downtown. Then Boston leads by 4. Big three-pointers here.
Unfortunately, number 8 Rick Barry is really only known for this.
Here in the playoffs against Detroit and now Los Angeles, he is...
Although he made almost 9 out of 10 free throws underhand, Barry was so much more than a shooter at the charity stripe. He averaged over 23 points in his career and won an NBA title with the Golden State Warriors. But this next player ended up winning 6 titles. That was Scottie Pippen, who was Michael Jordan's most dedicated teammate. When Jordan was Batman, Pippen was Robin. Scottie was a smooth scorer who was good in transition and was probably ahead of his time. Another sidekick was John Havlicek. When Bill Russell took most of the credit when the Celtics held an 11-title dynasty, John Havlicek ended up doing most of the dirty work. Hondo would score, rebound, and assist pretty well over his career. And when Russell retired, Havlicek went ahead and won 2 more titles. At number 5 is Julius Erving. Dr. J could have been all the way up at number 2 or 3 if we counted his stats in the ABA. Sadly, these are the best small forwards in the NBA, so we'll just have to deal with what Erving had then. Erving reached a peak in the ABA, but he still ended up scoring 22 points per game and winning a championship and MVP on the Sixers.
Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way rock the baby to sleep and slam dunk. And the doctor made a sensational play.
One of the single most athletic players during the 60s was Elgin Baylor. I'd say that Elgin Baylor was a fairly underrated player, since he recorded over 11,000 rebounds and averaged 13.5 of them per game. That's the most for any small forward. He also scored 27 points per game over his whole career. But the one thing Elgin Baylor is really missing is a title. He made many appearances, but each time he had to face a superior Celtics team. We're now in the final 3, and these final small forwards might ring a bell. Kevin Durant will take number 3 on this list. There will never be a player like Durant again. KD is 7 feet tall and averages 27 points per game, so you'd assume he'd be like a center or someone who crashes a glass. But instead, Durant is a main ball handler on a team who shoots jumpers and makes most of them. He has also won 2 championships with the Warriors, won 1 MVP, and made 12 All-Star games. At number 2 is a Celtics legend, Larry Bird. Compared to most others on this list, Larry Bird's stats aren't overwhelming. This is mostly because he played a short career given the fact that he was a superstar. But when he did play in the 80s, he definitely made his name known. Larry Legend won 3 MVP awards and 3 championships. But even though Bird was a good scorer, rebounder, and playmaker, you might be wondering how somebody that looked somewhat unathletic won so many awards. But Larry was secretly a very athletic player who held a lot of grit and determination. Every loose ball, Bird was sprinting for it, which really separates him from the rest. But anyway, the best small forward in NBA history, without any question, is LeBron James. When LeBron joined the league in the early 2000s, he held a lot of expectations. As the first overall pick coming out of high school, LeBron could have either been a revolutionary player or a bust. Pretty soon though, he took the Cavs, who were a pretty bad team, to the NBA Finals. Knowing he was a superstar, LeBron traveled to more talented teams in search of a championship. In total, LeBron has won 2 titles in the Heat, 1 miracle title in the Cavs, and another one in the Lakers. James has also won 4 regular season and postseason MVPs, and I'd say LeBron's biggest achievement of all time is that he's the NBA's leading scorer.
Coming to the end of the third quarter, LeBron James, a shot at history.